Hello, everybody. I'd like to have a brief special introduction here to week 25, just to get some perspective. We're celebrating the golden jubilee anniversary of a travel I did, my Stevie Wander, when I was just a young man. And I want you to understand that it also is a commemoration and an attempt to get some traction in regard to the book that Fred and I wrote, Fred Burke, from my journals. And many of my entries and my recollections are from the journals. So here I am, kicking it off, back at the kibbutz, getting ready to hit the road and leave Israel and make my way off into the world again. It's time to hit the road and time to celebrate. So give a listen and take a look at the book and enjoy yourselves. A brief introduction. Concerning week 25, we start out at the far eastern side of the Mediterranean Sea. We're in the Upper Galilee in Israel. Stevie, Lynn, Alan, and Polly make their way to Haifa. Stevie and Lynn break up with Alan and Polly, go down to Tel Aviv, find the Lod airport, flying to Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus. And having some wild adventures going north to the sea there, Kyrenia, and after a night back in Nicosia, over to Gamagusa, which is Gazmi Magusa, which is part of the Famagusta area, finding passage and making his way to Beirut, now with a new companion, which is Daniel the Frenchman, saying goodbye to Lynn. The return to the kibbutz was a reunion. I exchanged my sleeping bag, actually Hank's sleeping bag. I gave to him the nice, beautiful mummy down bag and got my piece of crap nylon one back. So it was going to be more difficult for me to sleep out. And I saw Clyde the camel, my wonderful friend that I left behind. And the return was quite a partying event. Each night, we'd get the music machines out and we'd be dancing like crazy, drinking wine, smoking that Lebanese hashish. It was a lot of fun. Finally, Nina, the boss of the volunteers, she said, out of here. And it was time to leave. So the next morning, we were off to Haifa. Me, Lynn, Polly, and Alan joined us again. Haifa is a port. It's Israel's second big city on the Mediterranean. So we went there in order to check out the docks. And they have a plentiful situation with merchants and all kinds of activity. We thought maybe we could find something, but we went about and we had a great time because we met with the real people. It was a lot of fun. We spent some hours kind of checking out things and seeing if we might be able to find some kind of passage. Really, to Cyprus is what we're looking for. We're looking for the closest place we could go to get out of Israel so we can go back to the mainland, which was going to either be, for me, Lebanon, and for Lynn, she was going to have to go on to Turkey because she couldn't get into an Arab country directly, even at all, because she had Lebanon would not let somebody in that had Israel on their passport, and it was reputed that they would look. So let's take a little look at Haifa. You know, it's got the Baha'i religion is actually, this is its headquarters, and they have some beautiful buildings, as you well, gardens and things. And then we wound up on a beach. Alan, Polly, Lynn, and I, and we spent it on a rocky beach. And it really wasn't very much fun. And Alan and Polly were arguing, and Lynn and I were just, oh my God, we got to deal with this BS again. And we were looking forward to saying goodbye to them because it was going to be off to Lod Airport. We found that since we couldn't find transportation across the sea easily, we were going to head up to the airport and head towards Cyprus. So we hitchhike, Lynn and I, and we fly to Nicosia. As you can see, that's the easy way. If you want to go in the other way, you can go up around Lebanon, Syria, come around Turkey, and find your way to Nicosia. But the boat So there we are, and we're in a whole another culture now. And that is a place that is made up of Greek 80%, sorry, Turkish 80%, Greek 20%. Well, we kind of got involved with the Turks just because we did. Oh, I know why. It was cheaper living in the Turkish areas, and we heard about that. So we wind up getting into Nicosia, and we stay in a Turkish type hotel because really you either went one way or the other in Cyprus at that time. It was no like, okay, I'm going to be one Greek guy and one Turk. No, that's not the way it was. So it's March 25, 1971. I'm in Nicosia, Cyprus, the Isle of Cyprus. I was hitched from the Nicosia airport, and I'm in the midst of the insanity of two competing cultures. On one island, two languages. It's crazy. Lynn O'Connor and I find the Turkish Quarter. It's cheaper. And we get a hotel, then we start grooving with the people. Finally, we wind up with three young Turks in an old car as we ride north to Kyrenia on the coast. It's so beautiful. It's on the coast. It's so picturesque with beautiful white yachts. We go to a strange, sort of funky Turkish place to eat and drink whiskey and brandy. I start getting drunk, and finally they bring out this bright pink liquid, and I'm totally walloped. We start going back the 50-mile drive to our hotel in Nicosia, and it's late. The ride up from the sea was very slow, and the car slowed badly, showing signs that were not good, chugging and groaning. We start going up a hill for more trouble. We start pushing when the car finally gives out. After a comical session, the car gets turned around with Lynn and the driver going back down the hill. We'd lost control of it. After the car goes rolling down the hill, me and the two other Turks who were outside the car pushing it start walking back down the hill to find Lynn and the other Turk that are in the car. Finally, we meet up with them and start walking 16 miles back to Nicosia. We're drunk as hell. What a hike, straight uphill. We can only find Turks to help because we're with Turks. Finally, after about a 5-mile hike, we get to a Turkish army personnel kind of checkpoint, and one of them at 2:30 a.m. drives us back to Nicosia. I was just beat. I was nodding on the final leg of the trip to the city. What a night. Oh, I'm so damn drunk. Oh. Lynn and I are hippies on the cheap. So we're going to try to get to what I thought was Famagusta in order to get off the island or find out how. Well, it wasn't working out for Lynn, but somehow or another, she was coming along with me because we were paddling around together, even though we were both sort of floating, let's put it that way. So anyway, guess what? We run into these three crazy Turks again. They got the same old car. They got it running again. And like idiots, we get in the car with these guys. They're going to take us to the port so we can check this stuff out. Well, it's breaking down on the way, and it stopped, and we pushed it. And finally, we get to what I thought to this very day was Famagusta, a port that we stayed at. I just found out in studying it, it was not Famagusta. It is called something different. It's called, Yamagusa. Gazi Magusa, which is the port. Now, why did I think that? Because Famagusta was famous for having some marijuana called Famagusta Green, which we never found, but we were hoping to find while we were on the island. But here we got to Gazi Magusa, and that is where the adventure continues, leaving our crazy Turkish guys in their broken down jalopy behind. We were done with them, that was for sure. Finally, we get to this port city to find the port is closed until the next morning. We go off with another Turk. He takes us to another hotel. nice and typical. Behind me are the walls of Famagusta. Famagusta was the split-up point for my buddy Lynn and I. It was a sad goodbye. She had Israel stamped on her passport. With that, they would examine the passport, or likely to, and she couldn't get into Lebanon or Syria, whereas I had avoided it by having it on my landing card. So I was able to enter Lebanon without it being a problem, even though I had been to Israel. We wake up the next day and go to the port. It's very nice. And soon I arrange to go to Beirut tonight. The day is filled with preparation. Lynn and I sadly part ways since her passport was stamped by the Israelis and she could not go to Lebanon. Well, I had the stamp on a special card per my request to the Israeli immigrations. I set this up, claiming I was an archaeology student and I needed to go to Egypt to the pyramids. And they let me do it that way. Daniel, the Frenchman who we were with the night before at the hotel, well, he kind of decides he's going to go with me on the boat. And that was pretty cool. Anyway, you always pick up somebody else as you go along the way. So here I was, and I say goodbye to Lynn. She's going back to Nicosia for a flight to Turkey. And we really did get on. She was very nice, and I will always find a place in my heart for Lynn. I really did love her in a higher sense, no doubt about it. And we had great romance and had a lot of fun together. And she had a great spirit. Goodbye, Lynn, and hello to Lebanon. We were given bunks on the little air boat on the ship. We were also given a huge bag of oranges. When we got off the boat at the Beirut port, we were taken away in a car. And this Lebanese bastard official type tries to hold Daniel and I up for money because he says, oh, well, you have to pay for visa, taxi, other kinds of stuff he comes up with. Well, I'm getting crazy. And I don't know what else to do about it because Daniel, he seems to not even care, even though he's got even less money than I do. Somehow or another, we make a deal and we pay him, I think, $3 a piece. And we're off into the city of Beirut, the big city, which again, they call the Paris of the Middle East. And you'll see it'll be some adventure there. Talk to you soon, everybody, next week. Bye-bye. Next week, week 26. Take a look. We start in Beirut, spent a couple days there, and Stevie joins with 3 other intrepid travelers and makes his way up to Baalbek, which is the center of the famous hashish from Lebanon, and some wild adventures there. Then the 3 of them make their way back, some interesting interludes on the road, getting to Beirut again, spending a night in a forest there, a park, and Stevie breaks up from the 3 travelers he's with, winds up going to AAA, meets some Americans at the YMCA there and stays there for a couple nights. Then he makes his way back to Beirut and hitchhikes his way to the city of Damascus, week 26. We sojourn out to the ruins, several kilometers from our hotel room. We notice army guys stationed in the outer perimeter at various spots. We walk through the ancient rocks that are dotted through the massive structures. We are being watched by a guy with binoculars in a VW Bug. He makes himself conspicuous, as we know he is there. Without a doubt, we are being watched. As we leave the ruins to head back to town, we can sense trouble coming our way. An army jeep and a police car approaches. 2 policemen and an army guy walk towards us. We stop in our tracks and wait. Where are you? Why were you in the ruins? You must leave the Turkish sector. We stare back like 2 deer caught in the headlights. Lisa is petrified. She starts to cry. I touch her shoulder and take hold of her hand. We grip each other tight. We're just tourists walking around, I say. We are searched for drugs and weapons, then taken to the police station. I plead ignorance to any wrongdoing. The police chief says we must leave the island, or at least the Turkish quarter. We agree to depart tomorrow. The police then drive us back to our hotel. Now that was a memorable experience, you must admit, I say in jest to Lisa as the police vehicle drives away. She looks at me in silence. Her face conveys sadness and near grief and sudden relief all mixed together. We hug each other and walk side by side as I grasp her shoulder, press close into me, and we walk to our hotel room from the lobby.